Sally, you got to tell Buzz and myself just what it was like when you first found out that you were going to go on a shuttle flight.
Well, you know, I'd been in training for about 4 years, so 4 years worth of flying in T-38s for the first time. I wasn't a pilot before NASA turned me into one, and learning how to navigate and communicate, and then spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours in the simulator. And one Monday morning, about 7 in the morning, just before our regular Monday morning astronaut meeting, I got a call to go up to George Abbey's office. And, you know, he was the director of flight crew operations then, and we all knew that he was the guy who was at least heavily involved in picking the crew.
Heavily.
Very heavily. So I went up to his office, and you know, he called me in and shut the door, and as only George can, he said, "So, Sally, you still want to fly?" and I knew George well enough to know what he was saying, and, you know, I just, I could not contain myself.
Great, coming up 9 minutes. We're now in the approach phase, everything looking good.
So George took me up to Dr. Kraft's office, and they sat me down, and Dr. Kraft, you know, talked to me about what this would mean to me, and was I sure I wanted to do this? And I was just sitting there going, you know, you've got to be kidding.
Well, yeah, this was momentous for NASA too.
It was.
Coming in and for our first women in space.
It was. It was very important to NASA. I think that at the time, both George and Dr. Kraft had a more of the big picture of how momentous it was than I did. You know, I had gone through training. I just wanted to get to go into space. I mean, I wasn't really focused on being the first woman. I was just focused on getting up into space as soon as I could.
I remember being down the Cape and seeing the signs before liftoff. Ride, Sally, ride.
My dad took 1,000 pictures of those signs. But you know what's funny? It didn't really hit me, even while I was in space, that I was the first American woman in space. I mean, I knew it intellectually, of course, but it didn't really have an impact on me until I got back down on the ground and saw how people reacted to me.
Then it
really surprised me to see how girls and older women would sometimes come up and cry when they met me. And it wasn't until then that I realized that it was really a watershed for women.
You were too close to the situation to get the full impact. I remember when we came back from the moon, seeing the crews.
Roger, you started your rolling reentry.